Hi, I'm Alex Borman, and this video is all about how we can make live streaming or recording videos a little bit more efficient, a little bit more streamlined, using some free tools that are already out there that you just need to download and get to grips with. So without further ado, let me show you what I'm talking about. So here you can see we've got OBS Studio. OBS, there's plenty of videos online about how you set OBS up. I've got a number of scenes defined and a number of sources, so a number of cameras, and I can turn those cameras on and off. So you won't be able to see that until I turn that camera off, and you can see I've got a different camera which I can turn on and off as well. And we can turn different screens on and off if we want to. So I can turn my display at the back on and off. Or I could jump to this camera over here, or that camera over there, all by one touch of a button. There are some paid for expensive bits of kit that will do that for you. I'm going to show you how to do it with a £10 keyboard and some freeware. Now, I didn't write any of these programs, they're all freely available on the internet. I've just made use of them and linking them together. So let's hit the right keys, there we go. So OBS, when you're in OBS, let's move my pitch to the other side and turn my other camera off. So when you're in OBS, there is a space here where you can change some settings. So in the settings view, we're going to think about the hotkeys setting, and you can see I've got a number of these hotkeys set up. I'm just going to look at the hotkey that turns on and off one of my cameras. I'm going to choose the one that turns off my webcam, which was on the bottom right until I turned it off. So you can see I've got Control, Alt, Shift and 1, and when I push that key combination, it will turn the camera on. And when I push it again, it'll turn the camera off. And you can see there's an exclamation mark here because it's saying, well, you've used that key combination somewhere else. If I click that yellow exclamation mark, it shows that I've actually used it in 3 different scenes, but it's always turning the same web camera on and off. So it's not actually a conflict. It's just recognised I've used it more than once. So Control, Alt, Shift and 1 turns the webcam on and off. And I could push that on any keyboard, those 4 keys, and that would work. Not going to save any changes there. So if I push Control, Alt, Shift and 1, you can see the camera comes on, goes off again. What I want to be able to do though is do that with one key press of one button on the keyboard. Now we do that with another piece of free software called HID macros. HID macros, you can see I've got a series of different macros set up. They're all assigned, and what the beauty of this is it will link to just the one keyboard. So if I do that, you'll be able to see my desk setup. So I've got my normal keyboard here that I can do my typing on, and I've got a second keyboard over here, cheap 10 quid keyboard from the supermarket, that I've assigned hotkeys to. So when I push, for instance, the Q key on my typing keyboard, you can see it's recognised it as keyboard 15 and it's recognised it as the Q key. If I push Q on my macro keyboard, it recognises it as keyboard 16 and has turned on the camera again. So what we've done in HID macros, just put that back up there so you're not watching my hands, that would be off-putting. There we go. In HID macros, we've created, I'm going to look at camera 1, but I'll just make a new one. So we create a new macro, we give it a name. So let's call it camera 5. I haven't got a camera 5 yet, I don't think. Maybe I do. Then we can click scan. Now what scan does is it waits for something to happen. So a key press on any keyboard. I'm going to randomly push the G key on my keyboard. So it's recognised the keyboard and the key that's been pressed. And then I want to say what key combination do I associate with that. So rather than using the fields down here, I'm going to go into scripted, because then I can apply multiple key combinations. Now, going into camera 1, we can look at scripted and we can see exactly what we've said. So if you remember in OBS, it was Control Alt Shift and 1, turn the camera on and off. And what we've said here is it's sending the keys, it's sending them slowly because so it can distinguish between the 4 key presses. So there's a very short pause between each one, but not discernible to us. And you can see there's a plus little hat above the 6, a percentage, so that represents Control Alt and Shift, and then the 1 key that's being pressed as well. So that says Control Alt Shift and 1 in quotation marks, and then comma 50, just to say we're sending the command slowly. So once we've defined that for each of our keys, we can then compile and test, and that will save it for that particular keyboard, that configuration. Now the only other thing that you need to be aware of is sometimes I'm using a USB hub because I haven't got enough ports on my laptop. Sometimes when I take my laptop to a different location and then plug the hub back in, it recognises the keyboards differently. So when we're setting up for the first time, we might have to say, okay, there might be a keyboard grayed out down here, and I might say I want to move all of my macros to a different keyboard. So you can see here I've got 3 keyboards plugged in because I'm greedy. One will be the laptop built-in one. But I can move all of my macros at once. So click on the one with all the macros assigned, 29 macros. Move all the macros. Where do I want to move them to? So a different keyboard. Most of the time, if you're not moving your setup and you're not changing things, you won't need to do that. And that is it. So hopefully you found that useful, a useful way to streamline some of your streaming or your recording through the use of hotkeys, and just making it a little bit quicker than trying to remember all those key combinations, and a little bit cheaper than some of the paid for bits of kit you can buy that do a very similar job for a lot more money. If you've enjoyed that video and you're interested in seeing other things that I'm putting out there, please do subscribe, have a look at the website, and if you do use any of the ideas from the video, please do share what you did in the chat. It's really interesting to see what colleagues are doing, and how students and users of your resources are feeding back if they're finding it useful. So it's always good to hear what students and other people are doing with the resources I'm sharing. Thank you.